Yeah.
An awesome God he
Got 'em.
reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Chaotic Serenity. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate you, appreciate your time. I've been going through the book of Proverbs lately. The book of Proverbs has got a lot of information about wisdom, a lot of warnings against foolishness and against folly, but this book, the book of Proverbs, speaks so highly of wisdom and knowledge. It says, you need to go after these things. You need to go after them as if they're more precious than gold, more precious than silver, right? That's how important wisdom is. And I think that that's very true. Nowadays, we've got the internet, we've got Google, we've got YouTube. If we want to find out some knowledge, we can go look, right? We can find out pretty much anything we want to know. We can find out how to fix a washing machine, how to fix a vehicle, how to make paper mache, how to do origami, whatever. You name it, you can find out the knowledge and how to do it online. But when I think of wisdom, I think of something beyond just head knowledge, right? Beyond head knowledge. Because you've got people, and I'm sure that y'all have met people like this, right? You have people that are very intelligent. They've got a whole lot of knowledge in their mind, but they're book smart. They're not street smart, right? They're not very savvy. They might be naive. They might, you get what I'm saying, right? There's kind of that book smarts versus street smarts. So again, when I think about wisdom, what I think about is wisdom is knowing how to apply knowledge that we have, right? That's what I think of when I think about wisdom. That's how I would define wisdom. So, you can have knowledge, but if you don't use that knowledge correctly, if you don't apply that knowledge and use it appropriately in the appropriate situation, then you can still get yourself into trouble. You can make foolish decisions. You can make really dumb decisions. You can get yourself into a lot of trouble, right? Even if you have the knowledge, if you're not putting it into practice in the appropriate way and at the appropriate time, right? Now, I was thinking, okay, well, it's easy. It's so easy nowadays to come across, knowledge, just the facts, the steps on how to do something, right? But to be able to take that knowledge and put it into practice, where do we learn that? Where do we go to learn that? And I think that one of the primary ways that we learn is through experience. Okay, and I'll give you an example. I went to school for software engineering. Okay, now I got all A's and I did good in all my classes. However, right, when it came time for me to graduate, I'm thinking, I've got this under control. I know all this information. I understand how to use this programming language. I know how to use that sort of web development software. I've got this under control. Now, granted, it wasn't a straight software engineering program. It was a computer information systems degree. So it was kind of like a buffet, right? I took a few classes on like HTML, a few classes on web design, a few classes on actual .NET programming, a few classes on like database. So I was kind of like a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And I thought, I've got this under control. I know what I need to know, right? However, when I started to submit applications to places, I didn't get very many interviews. And part of the reason for that is because I couldn't afford to take an internship. I didn't go to college when I was, 18, 19, 20. I went when I was an adult. I had a family. I had a mortgage. I couldn't just drop what I was doing and take a job that paid a low wage so that I could get experience and get my foot in the door somewhere. So I was trying to look for entry-level jobs that were more than an actual internship, right? So I applied to probably 40 jobs. 40 jobs that were like legitimate jobs that I potentially could have been able to do. I'm not just talking about I applied to anything that I found, right? 40 or so, 30 or 40 actual legitimate jobs in the first probably 3 weeks or a month, somewhere around there, right? And I only got like 2 callbacks out of all these. And everybody wanted experience, right? I couldn't get an interview because everybody wanted experience. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to get experience if I can't get a job? Well, quid pro quo, that's why all the internships are out there and available, paying dirt cheap rates. Anyways, so I ended up getting an interview. I went in for the interview, and this was not like any interview I've ever been to before. Any of the interviews I've been to have just been a series of, the HR person or the manager just asking questions about me, about how I might handle a certain situation. Hey, tell us about one time that, you really went above and beyond to do something to help someone out at work. Or, name a time that you made a poor choice at work and you regretted it. Just what I would consider to be more basic questions. Okay. When I went to this job interview, it was like I was taking a test and I was in school again, right? They were quizzing me with all of these technical questions. And they were saying, okay, well, if you work for an elevator company, write a little program real quick and program this elevator, how the elevator would function based on what buttons were pushed in what order and what floor was this and that was on. And I'm like, really? So I got overwhelmed and I kind of freaked out. And so there was just this battery of test questions that were very, very in depth. And I'm like, whoa, I've got all of this knowledge in my head, but I don't have the wisdom. I don't know exactly which pieces of knowledge to apply to which pieces of these questions that I'm being asked, right? It was at that point that I'm like, wow, maybe I am a little bit over my head and maybe I do need an internship possibly. But anyways, I say all that to say that wisdom, knowing how to apply knowledge, comes in time, specifically in work environments, right? I come from a cable TV background. I've always worked in the cable industry for the most part. And, I remember that when I was going through training where I ride along with someone, I had been doing installations and repair work for cable and internet in people's houses for a number of years. And I ended up applying and getting a promotion to be a maintenance technician, i.e. the bucket truck guys, right? The dudes that do the cool bucket truck work out on the street and the main lines. And so I was riding around with another maintenance technician, just kind of following along, absorbing the stuff he had to teach me. And I'm like, I get this. I'm understanding this. This is so cool. The cable company I worked for was also paying for me to take classes at a cable college school, online classes. So I was really learning. And it was about time where they were going to cut the rope and let me go out on my own. And I'm like, dude, I got this. This is going to be so cool. I got this. So I get to my first job where I don't have any backup, no support with me. I had my phone. I could call somebody if I needed to. But for all intents and purposes, I was by myself now. I was on my own. It was, hey, it's time to poop or get off the pot, right? So I get to my first job and I just got so overwhelmed. I'm like, wow, I don't even know where to start, which was so weird to me because I had all of this knowledge in my head, right? But I was having trouble figuring out how to apply it to a situation that I had not been in specifically before, right? Okay, I know I'm kind of dragging this out. Where I'm going with this is I believe, in order for us to get wisdom, wisdom is generally gained through experience. And it can be through two types of experience, I think. Through personal experience, right? So the longer I am doing whatever profession it is that I'm in, if you're a chef, or if you're a pastor, or if you are a web designer, a software engineer, if you're a cable guy, whatever, the longer you do a job and the longer you are in an industry, the more situations and circumstances you come across. And as you come across those, you learn the best way to deal with them so that when that happens in the future, you've got some wisdom now. You're starting to understand how to apply your knowledge and the things that you know, right? Another way is to gain wisdom from someone else who has been there and done that and worked through whatever the steps or whatever the process is, right? So it's great to try to get wisdom on your own just by going through things, right? But when it comes to the faith, when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to Christianity, we do learn things as we go. but I think that it is a huge value to talk to people who have been in the faith for longer than we have, and to pick their brain and to ask their advice and to seek wisdom from them, right? Seek wisdom from them. I think that's a great way to gain wisdom and to learn wisdom and to learn how to apply knowledge. Talk to people that are older and wiser, that have been there, that have done that, and not just in regards to the faith. I mean, it's a good idea in anything, right? Like if you're getting ready to purchase a home for the first time, or you're getting ready to purchase a vehicle for the first time, right? You're probably not going to be very wise, no matter how much information you research online. You've never done it before, and you're going to get hit with some curveballs probably. So it would be good of you to go find someone who's purchased a car or two or three, or a home or two or three, and get wisdom from them. Ask them what they did, what worked for them, what didn't work, what would they suggest, right? So I think that that is one of the reasons that it is so important for us as believers to fellowship with other believers. I used to think when I was younger, I didn't need to be in fellowship with other believers. I don't need to go to small groups. I don't need to go to Bible studies where I'm forced to communicate with other people on an intimate level. I don't need to do that because I was and still am an introvert, right? I generally don't like talking to people. I'm normally quiet unless I'm in the right setting, around the right group of people, and whatever it is that is the topic of discussion. If that topic is something that's very important to me or very interesting to me, then I'm more likely to speak up. But otherwise, I just don't like being involved in conversation, especially with strangers or people that I don't know very well, right? So I kind of strayed away from getting involved in small groups at church because I'm like, I don't really know these people. I don't want to do the whole, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm fine, how are you? You know, the whole fake thing and, you know, wearing a mask. But then I got into Celebrate Recovery, where I was kind of forced into these small group settings. And through that, I began to learn the importance of fellowshipping with other believers on a face-to-face, small group, intimate, personal setting, because there is so much wisdom that can be taken in by listening to other people's experiences and stories. And there's so much wisdom that you may not even know you got it, but there's so much wisdom that you can give to others by talking about things that you've gone through. So to tie all of this together, right, I just went on this long rant about wisdom and knowledge and this, that, and the other. Where I'm going with this is that the Bible tells us all over the place that wisdom is important, especially in the book of Proverbs, right? Solomon talks about it. But in addition to that, it also talks about how fellowshipping with other believers is extremely important. So I'm just kind of threading those two things together very briefly right now and linking one to the other. I think that fellowshipping is important, and one of the many reasons it's important, just one of the reasons, is because it allows us to learn from each other and to impart knowledge and wisdom to one another, right? So that's my rant for today. Thank y'all for being here. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you. Love you. Till we meet again, we'll do it next week. Chaotic Serenity. Deuces.